Welcome to the Growing Your Business podcast. This is the show that dives into the big question, what's in it for me, for both the business and its customers? On each episode, we sit down with a business owner or leader to uncover their why, their values, and the stories that drive them to grow their business. This episode is sponsored by Russ Birch, commercial banker with Frost Bank in Plano, Texas. Joining me today on the Growing Your Business podcast is my friend Julie Sears with Integrity Health Insurance Advisors. How you doing?
Good. How are you?
Great. Glad to have you here. I want to know all about Integrity Health Insurance Advisors, and it's important you say all four of those words. Yeah. So tell me about your company.
So 8 years ago, actually this month, my husband needed health insurance, and so we had tried to add him onto my group plan previously, and it was just so expensive. I reached out to an old agent that I knew through old life and got a quote. And I was like, this is crazy how much money she can save us. And I was in outside sales at the time. I love helping people. So it was, recruiting and placement. So I was like, loved helping people. And so I ended up calling her back and I was like, how do I do what you do? Because I was always the mom everybody came to in corporate that asked about health insurance. Don't know how I got pigeonholed into that. I just was the nerd who read all of the details. So someone's like, hey, does our plan cover this? Sure does. So during open enrollment, they'd come to me. And when I figured we could save half on our own, just with that and have better coverage, I called her back and I was like, yeah, I'm doing outside sales. It's 100 and bajillion degrees in Texas right now, and I'm in and out of the car all day long. I'm like, surely I could do better.
Yeah.
And so I took my test, and 8 years ago, I think it was like a week ago, that I officially was licensed with the state of Texas, and it's just been growing ever since. And now I'm in 32 states, and I just really, I know my husband says I need new hobbies, but I just enjoy helping people go through the fine print, go through what they actually use it for so that they're maximizing their coverage, saving as much as possible, because it's not fun. There's nothing cool and tangible about it. But obviously we need to make sure we're covered for that what if.
Yeah.
And so I get to get paid for what I didn't get paid for all those corporate years, helping people with their coverage.
Nerding out and reading all the fine print.
I'm already out there doing it and digging in. Changes, slightly state by state. Every entity is a little different with their regulations, and I just stay on top of it, help them shop, break it down based on what they actually use it for, and try to save them as much as they can.
What's the number one dumb question someone like me who hasn't nerded out like you and doesn't have 8 years very specifically in the industry, like what is the question is like, can I save money and still have the same plan?
Yeah, most people they're like, I'm healthy, I don't use it, so I don't really need it. So it's not really a question. They just kind of want me to, like, I guess, justify them not having coverage. But of course, now 8 years in, I've seen all the horror stories of people that were healthy and they were one doctor's visit away from a life-changing event. Unfortunately, I have a friend whose mom just had a mammogram. Didn't go the way we want it to go.
Yeah.
And so now starts that journey for her. We've, experienced that in our own family. We've had loss of friends who were otherwise healthy and a crazy cancer diagnosis that took them far too soon and far too young. So, we're not old yet. We still got a lot of life to live. And so it's, we could be healthy, but obviously we were talking prior, we were active in our younger years, catches up with us. So it's not necessarily an illness, just a little normal wear and tear that catches up as, we're going to need a little fine tuning or potentially a little assistance as we get a little older. And, those minor things, some of us are blessed enough we can afford that. But with the rising cost of healthcare, who knows how much longer that's going to last before it's just crazy. There's no number
down at all.
Yeah. And every,
down.
I've got clients already because of course open enrollment is just right around the corner. And so people are already asking, what are rates going to do? They're going to go up. there's never been a year where they're like, guess what?
Yeah.
We've decided to roll back 20%. I mean,
Doesn't
people would
happen.
stop in their tracks.
Yeah.
We're looking at $10,000 out of pocket maximums next year, and of course increases. So, it's just based on obviously what your budget can withstand as far as that risk factor, because people think, oh, high deductible is great.
Until you have to pay it.
High deductible is great until, God forbid, a car accident where it takes out the family, and you now have your out of pocket for the family, and that could be $20,000+. Do you have $20,000?
Right.
Just readily available. So I just do the math and hopefully get it to make sense where, sometimes lower deductible doesn't make sense if you've not hit your deductible in a decade.
Yeah.
Why pay extra premiums? Put that money into savings and try to utilize it for your retirement or some, just savings as a cushion, because we don't know what tomorrow's going to bring.
Yeah.
The questions really span the gamut.
Yeah.
The weight loss drugs are super popular, especially during the summer.
That's somewhat recent. Whether was it GLP-1?
Yeah, the GLP-1s.
Yeah.
And, most public options was my specialty, and they don't cover them.
Interesting.
And
can you define public option?
So anything
versus corporate?
anything outside like an employer option.
Gotcha.
So I can help small businesses, they just tend to be too small to get a good, group rate. So, I can help those options, help them shop their options and find a good fit, because obviously retaining or attaining and retaining good help and talent is hard to do. And so any kind of leg up that you can provide, obviously I'm here to help. If you can give them a little something towards that benefit, and you just got less restrictions if you're shopping on the individual space. But no individual plan covers. I mean, if you're diabetic, it covers Ozempic. But if it is truly for just the weight loss, they're not approved for that yet. And so they just don't cover them. And, it's, again, we're going back to the math. If, as a 50-year-old male, your insurance premiums are going to probably be $500 to $600. And people are wanting, $1,500 medication covered every month. Unfortunately, it is a for-profit business, and that's just not a good business plan if half of your subscribers are wanting to just trim down. And, so just help find solutions. You can go to a med spa, go to a compound pharmacy and get it for a fraction of the cost. So
that's an interesting point you make, though, because you can help people with plans, but you can also help them with the bigger conversation of how to be, it's almost like being a money manager, but also here's a way to save on groceries. It's like these other directions you can take people. So talk to me about that. I mean, there's one, finding the insurance, but other suggestions you give them.
Tons of resources.
Yeah.
I have accumulated tons and tons of resources, and I love sharing them. So I post them frequently on, all my socials so that people can utilize them. I know some people just truly can't afford it at this time to get coverage, and sometimes they don't want to bother with the conversation. But I don't want to open myself up, but bother me with the conversation. I truly want people to have the resources to be able to take care of themselves and, head something off before it becomes a problem. But I've got sites for low cost lab work, for radiology, for your colonoscopies. If for some reason there's, a deficit in a plan that you have, or you don't have a plan, I probably have a way around it, to find something to help you out, so that, and kind of a money manager, but like health counselor-ish, sort of.
Yeah.
Just bouncing things off so I can point you in the right direction and hopefully save you some money, so that you can get to that point where hopefully you get over that hump, feel a little better, and then maybe be able to get on the coverage at the right time and get, because obviously prevention is key. If we can stay ahead of things instead of waiting until they're a problem. But I know everybody's walk is a little different.
Sure.
And, I just try to do what I can. It's not always received well. I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but sometimes I am that. And then I get the brunt of,
you're the messenger.
Yes, I'm just the messenger. Like I, keep getting asked, when's the shutdown going to end? I'm like, I have no control over that. And we've got a bunch of people on a standoff.
Yeah.
Um,
As of this recording, I think, what are we, 20 days in? Something like
something
that?
like that.
Because we're recording this in October of 2025.
Yeah.
If you're hearing this 3 years later, well, you already know. So
Yeah,
don't
right?
spoil it for everybody else. You already know. Yeah.
We'll have to go make an update.
Yeah.
But, the health insurance piece is just a piece of it,
Yeah.
And it's the expanded subsidies that are on the table that is the biggest battle, because right now they are really expanded. So people are getting very large tax credits towards their insurance premiums on the exchange. And that's what's at risk right now. And of course, it's very scary because they're like, the rates are increasing, these crazy numbers, right? They're increasing. But the biggest thing is that the tax subsidies are decreasing. So that just makes the appearance even bigger.
Yeah.
So the rates are increasing at the normal rate that they always increase, that they have for the last 8 years I've been doing it.
Yeah.
The out of pocket just keeps ticking up a little bit every month or every year.
Yeah.
And the premiums just keep going. It's usually 12 to 20. I think 22% is probably the highest I've seen. Carriers leave the market. It's no longer profitable for them.
Stay with us. The Growing Your Business podcast will return right after this.
A woman in Austin was depositing a cashier's check at the bank, but she deposited it right into a storm drain. The frost banker found another way in. Time out! So he went into the hole, like a cave diver.
A real spelunker of the streets.
What about the check?
It's money in the bank.
Ka-ching!
Ka-chang.
Ready to amplify your brand's voice? At Blue Mike Studios, we transform your ideas into captivating podcasts and videos. Whether you're launching your own show or guest starring on ours, we've got you covered. From recording and editing to social media promotion. With state-of-the-art 4K video and crystal clear audio, your content will shine. We offer guest packages on our podcasts and offer segments from the show for you to share. Or let us help you build your own branded podcast with custom strategy, branding, and full production support. Visit BlueMikeStudios.com today and let your voice be heard. Please check our show notes for sponsorship links and additional details. Now, back to the Growing Your Business podcast with Buddy Broyles. And you have licensure in, you say 32 states.
Yes.
So, and each state, I imagine, is different
Yes.
from, especially when you're talking about the different, isn't just the rates, but it's what tax write-offs and other things are different for every state.
Right.
Is there a state that stands out? Like, let's say that the only thing I cared about in my life, I have no care at all, except for I'm trying to get the best health care with the best, any subsidy at all. What state would I move to?
It's county by county.
Oh, really?
It's
It's that granular.
Yep.
Wow.
So, so I live in Denton County, but I'm right on the line. So it's really crazy. The options that are like in my county are different than right across
How about that?
on the other side of 423.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's really kind of
For big states like Texas, that's a lot of counties.
That's
Yeah.
so much. And so people will, of course I want this, Baylor Scott and White. And I'm like, that's only available in like certain counties.
Like
Like
Dallas
it's not,
County or
it's not
something.
in Denton. It's
Yeah.
Collin County,
Yeah.
Dallas County. But, if any of my residents are in Denton County, you can't
Yeah.
get it. People who've had the awesome employer coverage don't realize. So, also, I guess, giving some career advice. Don't leave your job.
Yeah.
If
If you're
you
married, one of you has to keep that corporate job.
right. And so
figure that out. Yeah.
and we're blessed to live in an area that has got some abundance to it and a lot of early retirees. So that's a huge bunch of conversations that I have every year of people that are looking to retire early and they've still got 8-10 years till Medicare and got to fill that gap. And, one spouse may not have ever worked or just kind of part time, killing time till the other spouse retired and the kids are out of the house. And so that conversation gets very interesting because it really is county by county. it goes up as we age. There's no averages. There's no like average like in a group plan because
Yeah.
you're just paying for you.
Right.
So it's real rough right before Medicare. You know, you could be paying $1,500 a month for a couple.
Yeah.
Right. So you've got to plan appropriately. Right. So I've had a lot of people leaving some really good companies lately, or sometimes not voluntary.
Yeah.
And, I'm like, I'd probably consider keeping that coverage and reconsider, what's important.
Yeah.
If that coverage is really important, you're not going to find it
Anywhere else. Yeah.
anywhere else
Yeah.
unless you work at another company at that level.
Yeah.
Because, it's just not the same. And it's getting very expensive to add families
Yeah.
to the plan. So oftentimes we split up a family. Doctors do not care if you have matching cards. They don't ask. They have no care in the world as long as you have the card.
Yeah.
And they know they're getting their
They'll
money.
run it. Yeah.
Yep,
They'll run it.
they'll run it. So that becomes very tricky. It's a hard conversation sometimes, but truly, I want to save them as much as possible because that way you have those, because the out-of-pockets are going crazy. There's nothing we can do about it.
Yeah.
Save the money on the premiums.
Would you say there's a certain type of, let's say, employment style or demographic that is your number one? And I'm thinking all the different professions out there. Of those, if you had a pie chart in front of you, who are the people that are coming to you most?
Got a lot of IT people who've been let go,
Yeah.
the reorganizations, and they're all going independent in
Yeah.
consulting.
Yeah.
So got a high number of those right now. The majority of mine are a lot of solopreneurs, and a lot of them who might have a spouse that does just work part-time, and then part-time, not part-time mom, but part-time stay at home with the kids.
Yeah.
Or there for the
But they're
departure.
not working corporate.
They're
and
not
pulling in.
working
Yeah.
big corporate jobs.
Yeah.
They've got a little bit more of a, flexible lifestyle because
Yeah.
we live in an area where that's very prevalent.
You bet.
So, it makes sense to shop and find the best option, right? So that someone doesn't have to go back to corporate.
Yeah.
And most solopreneurs do not want to go back to corporate. 2020 was probably one of my biggest years.
Oh, I bet.
And a lot of those people did not go back to work.
Yep.
That was the push they needed to start their businesses. And they just had, and their health insurance was the one thing holding them back.
Yeah.
I work with a lot of financial advisors who, of course, are involved in their people's money. And again, helping them quit their jobs earlier, instead of having to wait a little longer because their health insurance is holding them back.
Yeah.
And holding them hostage.
Because they have family and all the things.
Right.
Yeah.
And kids in college, and can't afford to not have it. So,
Yeah.
they no one real
But
industry or
yeah,
anything
yeah.
because
But it makes sense that people who were corporate are now entrepreneurs. It's because that's happening all the time.
Yeah.
As companies downsize, and then you have people like me. I've been a solopreneur, entrepreneur for years, and COVID definitely changed because before COVID, I had employees and interns and whatnot, and of course that all went to crazy after that.
Right.
And since then, it's always been solo. It's
Yep.
been we hired contractors, and of course those people are in the same boat. They're career contractors from I'm a media producer, so it's
Right.
media type people, and those people are probably customer types of yours as well. I
Yep.
mean, they run a small media production type service business, something very specific, but they aren't employable in their own minds for some major corporate because they're a specialty,
right.
so they need that type of thing. What do you say is the favorite, like on a given week? You're like, this is my favorite part. What's your favorite part?
Luckily, my clients don't have a whole lot of claims. This is my first year I ever had a client diagnosed with cancer. And I got to remind them that they had a critical illness benefit and they were getting a check for like 30 grand. So they didn't have to worry about any of their out-of-pocket expenses. And I mean, he called me crying.
Yeah.
And he was so thankful that all he had to do was take care of her.
Yeah.
And, and I just kept checking in, and he kept sending me pictures of her in the hospital, and she looked like she's going to do some glamour shots. I mean, I'm like, well, dang, you look good for going through what you're going through. So that was awesome. And she was just got the best spirit about her. So just when I, hear that someone used a resource that I had and they're like, oh my gosh, it saved me so much money. I'm like, yes, okay. They listened.
Yeah.
But unfortunately I get more of the other side. I get way more of the other side where someone calls me back and they're like, okay, well, we just went to the doctor and we found out this. Now their options are so much more limited. They may have missed their window. Now they have to wait. And, most illnesses you can't pause. No. There's no pause button.
Yeah.
That,
it's sad because it's almost a gamble. I mean, before we were recording, I mentioned that I've got a shoulder issue, and it's one of those things that so much of what ails you is so easy to ignore if you ignore it right. Right. But to your point, when something not even catastrophic, but just significant happens, if you haven't had an advisor like yourself who is at least have this, at least, remind us that, it's like a good diet plan. It's like, you may not know it, but you're really helping yourself, by doing this, and following your advice. Right. So what do you say to people like me? And I say like me as in, I've got a minor shoulder issue, but we're insured and all that.
Right.
But people who are not following that advice, what would you say to them?
The savings will be eaten up. I mean, because most people probably aren't really putting it in savings, right? That was the best thing about that family was that $30,000 pretty much reimbursed them for all their premiums that they'd paid. So kind of a wash, right? But they're business owners, they're writing it off and, doing all those things. I mean, it really is just catastrophic how much one little injury can cost you, right? Yep. And it doesn't even have to be a major disease.
Yeah.
I had a family years ago that their son got diagnosed with an aggressive form of leukemia, and it was $1 million for 2 weeks of chemo.
Goodness.
Because it was such intense treatment. And of course, they negotiated cash. If you pay cash, it was still $350, $350,000.
Yeah.
And
wow.
They still didn't want to get insurance for the rest of the family. They're like, yeah, we're fine. I'm like,
we'll take another $1 million risk. Yeah.
I'm like, that was just 2 weeks.
Yeah.
That was just to get started. It was going to be a long road because it was a very aggressive form. And I'm like, that's probably one of the only families I've ever asked to just not call me back.
Right.
Because
I can't help you.
I'm like, you still have 5 other family members that aren't insured. And grandma actually wanted to pay for it. And he was like, no, we're fine.
Wow.
I'm like, you have a kid that's truly like as sick as you can be. And I can't even fathom not being able to get my child care.
Right.
Wow. And so, those kind of crush my spirit a little bit. I do take it a little personally. Not that I'm not getting a sale or any of that, just knowing.
Because and you have all those, as you mentioned, you've got so many stories.
Yeah.
So that's what you're leveraging in these conversations.
Yeah. No one calls me back years later and is like, hey, I remember I didn't buy insurance and I've been able to save $50,000.
Yeah. Turns out, Julie, you were wrong. And look at all the money I have.
Right.
And nobody's sick.
I
gotta, that's a thing. Yeah.
And so, it's, no one calls me with those stories.
Yeah.
Feel free if anyone has one. I mean, there's always somebody who's like, oh, we haven't used our coverage in years and we've been wasting all this money. Yeah. But I mean,
the upside is you haven't needed to use your coverage.
I haven't, had to use mine either.
Yeah.
But the year I had my son, which I mean, feels like forever ago, my appendix almost burst 5 weeks later. He was 5 weeks old and I'm like doubled over and I'm like, what is happening? I'd never had anything.
Yeah.
And, and I'm like, okay, cool. I had like my first big claim because I had a kid. And then here I am in emergency surgery 5 weeks later to have my appendix out. And that cost as much as having a baby.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh my gosh, at least I got a cool baby afterwards. Like I didn't get
any much with the appendix.
I can't, I'm like, didn't get anything out of that.
Yeah, hopefully not.
But so, it's
Yeah.
hard to, sometimes those conversations hit me a little bit,
Right.
and my husband keeps reminding me I can't take them personally, and I'm like, and again, it's not about not getting a sale or
Right.
anything like that. It's just knowing that the tide can turn,
Yeah.
and I've seen it happen too many times where
Yeah.
someone calls back, sometimes way sooner than you would think, but maybe 6 months, 9 months down the road, and they're like, "Oh, I've got this," and
Yeah.
I thought it was nothing, and now what do I do? And I'm like, okay, now it's pre-existing and it's treated totally different,
Well,
and our options go from this to this,
yeah.
and
It's big to very, very small. Yeah.
and those people still want to be picky,
Yeah.
but
Yeah. We call those begging choosers. Is that what
yeah,
it is?
beggars can't be choosers,
Yeah.
unfortunately. And
Well, taking it personally, I'm just you and I are sitting here together. You're in the same room, so I can see it on your face. Is that the reason you're taking it personally is because you actually do care. Like I think the last thing I'd want is someone someone sitting here with me who is advising me on something that's super critical in my life, right? Which is my own health and the financial situation related to my own health. And if you didn't care, then that's a red flag for me. Like if you didn't take some of this stuff personally, I wouldn't want someone who wouldn't take
right.
it personally.
And there's agents
then
out
it's just
there.
a rubber. I'm a rubber stamp or a number to somebody, whereas you're getting upset with people or because they're not adhering to the fact that you've got years of experience and knowledge and the stories behind. I've met someone just like you, exactly in your situation. They feel the same way, and then they found out X. And I imagine you could just lay all those
Oh my
stories out on a
gosh.
table in front of them.
Yeah.
So
That could be
it's
a
important that you care.
whole bunch of things. And there are agents out there. There's someone in every industry, right, that makes the whole industry look bad.
Yeah.
Insurance agents, yeah. I mean, some of them are gross.
Yeah.
And, and I
Stay away from those.
run into them at networking, and they come across as fine, right?
But their clients are a number.
They're a number.
Yeah.
And they complete the deal and they block the phone number. And
Wow.
I get some of those calls where like, I can't get a hold of my agent. And I'm like, okay, give me the details on your plan. I'll walk you through it. I don't get anything out of it.
Right.
Hopefully some good karma, maybe a referral down the
Yeah.
line if they know somebody who needs help, because I answer my phone and it's my cell phone that they all have.
Mhm.
So, I answer it.
Yeah.
And if I can't answer it, I text them and let them know that I'm in the middle of something. Can I help by text? What can I do? Sometimes it's as silly as like, I lost my card again.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, so I'll fire off a message to support. I'll get your card emailed to you and we're good. It's that simple. So I have clients texting me all the time. My phone does go on do not disturb because boundaries.
You're also human.
I
Yes.
got to have some
Yeah,
boundaries.
you're a family person and a human. Yeah.
Yep. And so, but if I'm on vacation, my husband knows I'm going to return a call. Like we're both business owners. So we
Sure.
know it, and my business has grown much slower than some agents that come out like rock stars. And I'm like, but my clients are my people.
Yeah.
And it may have been slow and steady, but I've had people that have been able to help that are now been basically friends for 8 years of, helping them with their insurance.
Well, I mean, cell phone numbers change and email addresses change, but conceptually, how do you like to be contacted? I'll put all that in the show notes. So if you're listening or watching, just scroll down; it's there. But what's the best way for them to contact you? Is it through a portal through the website, or
there is a portal through the website.
But your phone number?
My phone number,
Okay.
honestly.
We'll put that in the chat, in the notes, so you don't have to say it now. Because it could change next year. So
it doesn't.
It probably won't.
It
but
has not in forever.
Sure.
And I will.
But we'll put it in the notes anyway.
Whatever I got to do to keep my number.
Yeah, same.
I tried to have a second line, and I'm like, no.
Are you like me? I've had my phone number has not changed now in 26 years. Like basically when I first got a cell phone in 99 or thereabouts, and that's actually that's not true. I had one before and then changed it, but this one, the current, is 26 years now.
No,
just blows my mind.
Changed. It's probably about 16 years, I think.
Yeah.
Because we switched at one point, and I couldn't port the number for some reason, and I was like, whatever.
Yeah.
And then now I'm like, no. Now I have to protect the number because everybody's got it. It's all over Google, and the internets and all the stuff, all the socials. So it's just easier.
And on that other note, I mean, you mentioned you're on social media. So, and again, I'll put all those, you'll email those to me. I'll put them all in there.
That one's super easy.
But you engage through social media as well? Like, what's your favorite way to chat back and forth with people on, or if, let's say people are trying to find you, should they go to your Instagram? What? I'm
on Instagram and Facebook.
Okay.
At Julie's Got You Covered.
Awesome.
And, so yeah, people chat me
comment
on there.
And yeah, great.
And
that's cool.
You know, I've got the chat enabled on Google if they find me there.
Excellent. Well, you know, in the interest of time, we try to keep the show dry time, but lots of really great information, Julie. Thank you for coming on the show. Really appreciate you sharing, obviously, your obvious passion for what you do, because you wouldn't be doing it this long if you didn't care, and carrying that burden for other people. So I'm just glad to hear it.
I pulled up the stat right at my 8-year anniversary, and I think it's 80% of agents don't make it past year 3.
I believe that, yeah.
Because, when you just use numbers, right, and then you're going to have to grind all the time to keep digging up numbers versus building relationships with your clients and taking care of them and doing the right thing, and they're going to keep taking care of you.
Great. Well, thanks for coming on the show today.
Thank you for having me.
This episode was sponsored by Russ Birch, commercial banker with Frost Bank, Plano, Texas. Thank you for joining us today on the Growing Your Business podcast. Please see the show notes for links to our sponsors, our social media, and to learn more about today's guest.